some unreservedly good news to start Crimewatch tonight. This is a face you won't recognise. On Tuesday, my co-presenter produced a new potential Crimewatch viewer. A perfect 8-pound baby girl who's been called Mia. Mother and child are doing famously, though Fiona has decided to take this evening off. But she's watching, and I hope you'll stay too and solve what's coming up. There's the mystery of two cyclists mown down on a country road at night. The mum who went back to her old house and found something wasn't right.
Ooh, it feels really creepy.
Climbing through a window, the would-be rapist who left behind his train ticket. All these crimes we hope you can help us solve tonight. We start with two men who didn't know each other and who were separately and bewilderingly caught up in a double murder. It's not a new case, we're going back 8 years, but for many people this crime is as vivid today as it was in 1993. It happened in Clapham in South London, and it now offers one of the biggest rewards in British criminal history, £100,000.
Kwame was big from infancy. As an adult, Kwame was a gentle giant.
He was only on the beat for about 3 years. At 40 years old, Patrick decided not to be a school teacher, to join the Metropolitan Police Force, to go through the training, and I admired him greatly for that.
Ponies.
Well, okay. Name 2 different types.
Inguinal and abdominal.
Right.
Come on, give it to Righty now. Come on.
Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, it is him. He must have been here when I was out. Yes, I have called the police.
I was asked, could I go to a call in Cato Road? Meanwhile, Patrick was out and about in his bike that night and called up to say that he could actually go to that call for me because he was just round the corner.
Everywhere, the books and
the officer came in, it was about 9:05, and he started to take a statement.
Where's Kwame? Kwame! What? Kwame. Is he there? Where's Kwame?
It's next door.
What?
It's next door.
Shut up, man.
I've been away for 2 weeks.
You've been, so the flat had been empty?
Way we murder there, Brian, and luckily
The noise was something like bang, 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 bang.
750, shots fired, Cato
Those 3 guys came out
Get back inside.
and they started shooting.
Come on. I've seen that guy, right? Yeah, man. Come on.
As we pulled up, we came across what turned out to be a double murder, and I knew that there was going to be no hope for Patrick living at all. And that was probably within 10 seconds of being with him.
It's me that told him where he lived. There was a knock on the window, wasn't there? And I come out the door and I told him he just lives down there.
My mum bought the newspaper on a Thursday morning. Turned the page and found her son's photograph and a headline that he's been shot. And she collapsed.
Around 11:15 at night, a police officer knocked on the door and he asked if I had a brother, PC Patrick Dunn, and I said yes. And the moment he asked that question, I thought, my goodness, what's happened? It really hit home when we heard Patrick's name mentioned on the news.
PC Patrick Dunn had been called to a minor disturbance at a house in Clapham, in what police say was a tragic coincidence.
This was Patrick, this was my brother. He doesn't get into situations like this. Patrick always succeeded. And suddenly to know that we would never see him again, one can't describe what that does to you inside.
The other man was found dead nearby. He too had been shot in what may have been a drugs-related killing.
The media coverage of the whole incident was very negative, and I just shut myself out. I didn't want to talk to anybody.
In fact, the reason for Kwame's death is still a mystery. So far as is known, he was never involved in crime or serious drugs. But somebody knows something. 8 months after the murder, somebody rang Crime Stoppers. The message was, if you want to find the killers, you should go to Wandsworth Cemetery and search. When police arrived, lipstick marked the spot. Two guns were wrapped in a plastic carrier bag. They were forensically linked with Pat and Kwame's deaths and other shootings too. Now, 8 years on, the investigation has been renewed and has a new lease of life.
I don't know if relief is the word. We couldn't come to terms with even asking ourselves the questions because there were no answers to them. And, I mean, until my mum died, I found out that she's been carrying Kwame's photographs in a handbag throughout the period.
The pain is still there 8 years later, because we know Patrick should have been around. He should be here.
Somebody knows who killed William Kwame Danzo. Perhaps several people know. And someone knows who killed Patrick Dunn. If they help prove it, they'll get £100,000. Gary, 8 years on, who is it you particularly want to hear from now?
We're looking for two types of people: witnesses that were witnesses at the time that didn't come forward for various reasons, and that people that have become witnesses since the actual murder. Specifically people that have had the crime relayed to them by the suspects. Clearly the people responsible, they wouldn't have gone away and kept quiet about this. You've seen them on the video putting the guns in the air, laughing and shouting. They were pleased with what they did. They would have bragged to people. Those people are now witnesses to the murder, and we want those people to come forward and collect the £100,000 reward.
Now, both people in the street at the time who didn't come forward and people who heard about this subsequently are very likely going to be frightened. I mean, physically frightened of what might happen.
We understand that they'd be frightened of these people, and they have reason to do that. However, we will offer them every bit of available protection, and we will ensure that they are protected if they come forward and give the evidence to us.
Now, I want to just delve into that if I can. I mean, this is serious stuff. Somebody may very well want to claim the £100,000, but you're going to need them to give evidence. It's no good them just saying, well, here's a name, because you've got a long list of names I know. You need somebody who's actually going to appear. Now, they're going to be, as I say, very frightened. What level of protection can you give them?
We'll do absolutely anything that's required to protect them, and that can be from one end of the scale, just moving them out of the house that they live in, to the other end of the scale, moving houses, moving town, moving out of the country, changing names, moving the children away from the area. Anything that's required, we will do.
You can guarantee that?
Absolutely guarantee it.
Are you any closer to knowing what the original motive for this was? You've pretty much discounted drugs or crime.
It was said at the original media appeal that he was involved in drugs. He did smoke cannabis, and we think he supplied cannabis to friends and associates.
But this is small-time stuff like many other people.
Clearly wouldn't have been the motive for his murder, and we still don't know why he was murdered, but we're satisfied it wasn't because of his involvement in drugs.
So, again, people who know why Kwame was singled out I mean, that's important to hear from them as well, isn't it?
Yeah, he was singled out, as it shows from the video, and those people, we want them to come forward and explain why he was picked out.
OK. Well, this is not one for anonymous calls, please. Unless you've got some decisive evidence, that is, that stands on its own, we need to hear from you with your name, particularly if you want to claim that reward. 0500 600 600, or you can call the Murder Inquiry Room on 020 8247 8275. It's just one good call that we need to make a difference. In April last year, we showed this photo of Sid Carr, who was wanted for threats and violence against his ex-girlfriend and her partner. Two viewers from County Mayo were watching and recognised him as the man who washed the dishes at the local restaurant. Both separately called the police. Sid Carr was extradited and brought to trial, and last month he was found guilty of malicious wounding and was sentenced to 15 months. Geoffrey Hoare was wanted for indecent assault. He was watching Crimewatch when we showed these pictures of him back in June. Before our update programme started later on that night, he'd walked into a police station and had given himself up. He's been found guilty on 5 counts of indecent assault against girls between the ages of 8 and 10 and been sentenced to 2.5 years. Calls to Crimewatch really count, but we need more help now. One man dead, another terribly injured, both knocked off their bikes, but no one knows why or how.
Stefan was always ready to go and do something, always happy and glad to be out doing things in the outdoors and enjoying life.
It's still a nice night,
yeah, it's gorgeous, isn't it? Yeah, it was all right, wasn't it? Never come here again.
Stefan Forge and Jonathan Wassling had been enjoying a quiet night with friends at the Hunters Inn. At around 10:40, they left the pub to cycle back to Harrogate along the A658, the main Bradford to Harrogate road.
It's a good road, it's a wide road. It was a clear night. There shouldn't have really been a problem. We were very well lit, so we would have been very noticeable to anyone coming down the road. We cycled up through Hewby, and at that point I can remember a vehicle coming up behind us. You could hear it, it sounded quite high revving, and I can remember Stefan looking back, then began to not catch us up particularly quickly, and there was no lights that came onto our bikes, so it was at that point that we sort of realised it was more of a sort of a heavy, slow-moving vehicle. After that I really can't remember anything until I woke up the next day at 8:30 in the hospital.
Shortly after midnight, a lorry driver saw something flashing in the grass verge. He stopped and eventually found the two cyclists. They'd both been hit by a large vehicle. Stefan had been killed on impact. Jonathan had been thrown unconscious into a drainage ditch.
I was hit down the right-hand side by the vehicle. It's hit us fairly full on. I got kidney damage and damage to my lungs. The spiny processes on the spine itself were broken off on the lower spine. I suffered also 3 or 4 broken ribs, and my shoulder blade was actually sort of broken in 2. I feel extremely lucky to be alive. You say to yourself, what is the difference between myself and Stefan? Why did I live, and why did he die?
So think back, if you can, to Wednesday, August the 22nd, between about 10:30 p.m. and midnight. Who was driving on the A658? If you're a farmer, well, who was driving your combine harvester that night? Or who else had heavy equipment on that route? Perhaps a lorry, perhaps someone with a big trailer. The driver may not have realised what had happened, but there's some forensic evidence. So if you think it might be you or someone you know, call in. Friends have put up £1,000 reward just to end the mystery. Please help do so. 0500 600 600 or the incident room on 01904 618 618.
CCTV has had a big impact in cutting crime and helping to detect it. This is a confrontation inside a bus station. 3 of them went outside and were attacked by men wielding axes. Do you recognise anyone? Who is this man running away? Somebody was stabbed during this fight, and we're hoping that this man will be able to help with inquiries. A 9-year-old girl was frightened by a man at a railway station. He stood staring at her from the opposite platform while he openly performed a sexual act. This man was at the station at the time, and we need to trace him to eliminate him from the inquiry.
Some more footage of another stabbing now, this time in an off-licence in Croydon, South London. This man escaped with cash after injuring the shop assistant. See if you recognise his voice.
What's that?
Call us if you know who the attacker is, 0500 600 600 or 020 8649 1217.
Coming up, who do you know with this email address? It's either a hoaxer or someone who committed a murder. The man the whole country will want to see caught for his attack on a 91-year-old. And the graduate in a coma. Who injured him and why? Herefordshire now, close to the Shropshire border. 6 weeks ago, on a Friday morning.
A major police investigation is underway after a woman was found with serious head injuries on the Shropshire-Herefordshire border.
Totally unnecessary attack on a young mother
happened
of
at
two.
Kinton near Lentwardine. It's understood the woman, who's aged about 40, was found unconscious with severe head wounds.
She had massive head injuries and injuries to her arms as well, where she tried to fight off this attacker. They didn't think that she would survive the first night. They didn't think she'd survive the journey to hospital, in actual fact.
Lentwardine is a small village between Ludlow and Leominster.
Claire loves living in Lentwardine. She's very happy there. Claire mainly had dealings with the younger people through the school and the playgroup. Her life revolved around Charlie and Jack. And mainly, obviously during term time, it was getting Charlie to school and then Jack to playgroup. They obviously do say from time to time, I want my mummy. They know that a naughty man hit mummy down the stairs and she's very poorly in hospital and that she's having a nice long sleep because if we sleep we get better.
School run over at around 9:20. Claire called in at the petrol station to pick up a local paper. She and her husband recently separated and she'd moved out of the family home, taking the children with her. But she lived close by and sometimes popped back to collect mail and personal belongings.
Candlemas was her dream home. She'd always wanted that house. When she got it a few years ago, she was over the moon.
Hello?
Look, I know I don't live here anymore, but that's no reason to leave the place a complete mess.
What are you talking about?
It's an absolute tip.
I don't know what you're going on about. It was fine when I left this morning.
It's as if someone's done the place over.
Well, seriously?
Ooh, it feels really creepy.
Listen, if you feel like that, maybe you better get out.
Well, I'll have a quick look round and I'll call you back.
She never did call back.
Yeah, can I have the police, please?
There are fields that lead from Candlemas if you wanted to avoid the lane. But at 9:30, a man was seen at a point where it's hard to get over the hedge. Realising he was trapped, he ran back the way he'd come, sprinting for all he was worth. A man was also seen sprinting down Rosemary Lane, which heads back into the village. He had floppy, mousy brown curtain hair and wore a white T-shirt and jeans.
All the way to the hospital. I was wanting to be there and just dreading the thought of arriving, wondering what the news would be. Claire's current condition is stable. She's still very poorly, but she is improving. At the moment, she isn't our Claire, but she's getting there. She'll keep fighting.
Dave, terrible for Claire and for her family. Good news tonight, though, I gather.
It is good news. I mean, 6 weeks ago, I, as Claire's mum said, thought she would die. We thought it was going to be a murder. She's made remarkable progress. We're pleased with the way she's coming on. She's now out of intensive care, regained consciousness, and is starting to learn the speech process again. And again today we've heard that she's managed to count up to 10 on her own. So we're really pleased and hopeful it can continue.
And if it does continue, of course, she might be able to tell you what happened.
She could be the best witness that we've got in this case, yes. And we're keeping our fingers crossed that she can tell us, but also that she does get better in her own, you know, for her own sake.
Now, the reason you all thought she was going to die, she wasn't just hit. She was hit again and again and again and again with something very heavy.
She was. It was a frenzied attack. We don't know what the weapon is at the moment, but it was obviously something heavy. There's an awful lot of blood at the crime scene. Whoever has attacked her is likely to be blood-stained and quite possibly injured himself.
So whoever killed her is going to have to go home or go somewhere. He's going to have to change. He's going to have to wash blood off.
That's right. The person's run across several fields, crossed hedges. He's also going to be blood-stained, as you say. If anybody does know who this person is, please contact us.
I mean, he did try to kill her. This is an attempted murder. This is going to go down for.
Certainly.
If he had intended to do this, why this ramshackle escape? Or was he surprised in there? Do you know what the motive was? Was it a robbery gone wrong or what?
We're open-minded to the motive. It could be somebody local who she recognised. It could be a travelling burglar. Equally, it could be somebody from Claire's past. Now, we know that obviously she lives in the North Hereford area. We also know she's got strong connections with Bilston Market in the Black Country. It could be somebody from her past.
That person who was running away frightened like a rabbit caught in headlights, you're fairly confident that is the person who tried to kill her?
The short distance of time of that sighting, 2 minutes, 3 minutes after the attack, we need to speak to that person to eliminate him. We need to identify him.
OK, well, just in the very, very off chance that that was you, you were running away for a quite legitimate reason, nothing to do with what happened to Claire, for heaven's sake, give us a call. But for anything else, there are lots of clues on this one. 0500 600 600 or 01 432 276 422. Last month's Crimewatch produced some very quick results, but on some cases, we still need help. After a call to Crimewatch, the law has caught up with Benjamin Smith. He's been sentenced to 10 years for an armed robbery in Herne Bay in Kent. Within 24 hours of the programme, Graham Wright was arrested for a robbery on a Preston building society. He's been charged with a total of 6 offences. Back in May 1997, 12-year-old Katerina Kaneva was murdered by an intruder in her home. He escaped from an upstairs window.
What were you doing in my house?
4 Crimewatch viewers called in with the same name, and forensic and other tests are now being carried out. Strong leads too on an attack outside a railway station in southeast London.
Within seconds, he was actually boxing my husband. The other boy jumped on him and they were trying to pull him down.
At the time, we asked witnesses to come forward, and after seeing the CCTV on Crimewatch, 3 people did. Arrests are expected soon. But we still need your help to trace the driver of the Cavalier, which nearly killed 16-year-old Richard Collins. DS Andy Rowe thought the vital call had come during last month's programme.
As a result of a particular line of inquiry, we've in fact seized one motor vehicle in the Devon area this evening, which we're very interested in.
Sadly, that came to nothing. So if you know anything at all about a white G-registered Cavalier with a broken rear window which could have been in Torquay in August, call 0500 600 600. It sounds as if someone may well know something about the stabbing of 16-year-old Tanguy Gakusu in Stoke Newington, North London, last October.
What's happening?
Allow, man, allow.
It was a wholly unprovoked attack. Tanguy's jugular had been severed. He collapsed in the street and died later in hospital. We had a call to the studio last month from a man detectives would like to speak to again.
It was from a man who was on the bus, who left his first name, but rang off before we could get any more details. He was clearly worried. He said he was going to speak to his girlfriend before ringing us back, but unfortunately he hasn't. And I'm making a direct appeal to him tonight to phone me. He can speak to me directly on 0208 358 1495. The information he gives me and his details will be kept in confidence, and I will meet him any time, any place to hear what he's got to say. So please call me. Your information and the evidence you've got is vital to this inquiry.
And there's another caller we'd like to hear from.
There's a warrant out for Anthony Richards, who's suspected of serious drug involvement in London and Leeds.
An old friend of Anthony Richards called last month to say he'd changed his name and is living in Brixton in London. But we'd like that man to get in touch again with more details. Paul Firth is still wanted in connection with sex offences. Several callers thought they'd seen him working as a conductor on First North Western trains, but that's been checked out and it wasn't him. So where is Paul Firth? Now a little bit of a first for Crimewatch, an appeal about an email address. It was sent to us after we showed a reconstruction, and if you recognise this address, you might help solve a murder. It's austindangerpowers10@hotmail.com. Has anyone ever sent you something using that tag? First, let's remind you of the murder, the stabbing a year ago of Wade Hewitt. Wade lived in Dagenham in East London with his girlfriend Zara and their daughter Paige. A year ago, one Thursday night, he was heading home from Plaistow. He'd been drinking and was a little tipsy when he took the number 5 from Barking Road. Earlier this year, we appealed for others who were on that midnight bus.
I'll find something, I'll have something to eat.
You may have noticed Wade. He was talking to himself.
Say something, you know what I mean?
You might recall if you got on at Barking Station that a young woman and 2 young men barged their way to the front of the queue.
270s. No. That's too much for me to think about. I don't want to think about it now. So many people, man. What's going on? I was getting... I ain't got a clue. That's the taste when I get in or something, I don't know. I can't be bothered with all this. I don't need the people.
Shut up.
Look, I don't know, do you know what I mean? Say nothing.
Shut up, man.
Oh, okay.
Wade was stabbed several times. Do you remember that succession of bells to stop the bus on Longbridge Road between Thurleston Avenue and Meadway? Presumably, the 3 only got off here because of the stabbing. Now, one response to that April appeal was an email sent from this address. It might well be a hoax, but the author claimed to be the killer. Now, please don't call us to tell us how to trace an email address like that. The police have got all the technical help they want. But what we want to know is, has anybody sent you an email from austindangerpowers10@hotmail.com, 0500 600 600, or the Murder Inquiry Room on 020 7275 4336. Or on this or on any other crime, you can call Crime Stoppers anonymously if you want. It's a free phone number, 0800 555 111.
A joint surveillance operation between My 4 Sussex and Kent has been running after a series of armed robberies. Now, it's produced these pictures of a man who may be able to provide useful information, and we think he comes from the southeast of London. Call the incident room on 01622 654 930.
CCTV.
Just trying to catch up with some of the calls we've had so far. We've got a name that looks quite interesting for the Hadley Wood, the flasher at the railway station. Perhaps the most interesting we've got, oh, incidentally, we've got a witness, we think, to the hit and run on the road near Harrogate. The most interesting is in the double murder 8 years ago in South London of PC Pat Dunn and Mr. Danzo. 2 prison officers have called in, both quite independently, giving very, very similar information, and both giving us the same name. We've had 4 other calls on that too, which looks very interesting indeed. And on the Leicester stabbings, incidentally, we've got someone called in who says they recognise the offender in that one. Now a story with a twist in the tale, an attempted rape, and it well may be part of a series in Brixton, South London.
Friday evening, I was at home with my daughter. We was watching the TV.
What do you want?
I opened the window because it got a bit stuffy because I had the central heating on. And then she fell asleep, and I thought I'd go into the front room and watch some Sky, but I fell asleep. I was awoken to a strange man on top of me. It was, you know, frightening. You know, I thought, there's no way this guy's going to rape me. My strength came from nowhere. I was actually dragging him and kicking him, and I was so angry. I was fighting for my daughter. I thought he'd come through the door, and that's when I remembered the window. The window. When I woke up my daughter to see that she was okay, I heard the noises. It's him at the window, and that's what frightened me, because I thought, why is he trying to get back in again?
Police, please.
She saw him run down Chaucer Road towards Dulwich Road, and then she realised why he'd been so anxious to get back into the flat. He'd left his jacket there. Inside it was a travel card from Highbury and Islington Station, and this is Highbury and Islington at the time the ticket was bought. This man is wearing an identical jacket, and here he is heading for a train towards Brixton. Tell us who he is. 0500 600 600. There have been at least 2 other attacks which might be the same person. So call here please to the studio or to the incident room on 020 8649 2231. And if you've been the victim of any crime, you want to talk to someone, you can call the victim support line on 0845 30 30 900.
Unusually, this next appeal is to find a missing crime victim. Kenneth Pearce was homeless. He was attacked in Wolverhampton city centre along with a friend who later died. Kenneth had serious head injuries and broken bones, but discharged himself from hospital despite still needing further medical attention. His family is in Ireland, but he could be anywhere. 0500 600 600 or 01902 481 388.
2 EFITs now, almost certainly the same man who struck twice in Solihull. He has a Birmingham accent, he uses foul language, he's nearly 6 foot tall, unusually big hands, he's well built, he smells stale, and he's a rapist.
Don't scream or I'll kill you. Now move forward. Come on, move it. Move it, I said. Shut up. Now move forward. Just move. I've got a knife and I'll kill you. Don't scream a word. Right, here. Lie down on the grass. I said lie down.
Near the same playground 2 months later.
I felt someone walking behind me, but I didn't feel too bothered. I just slowed down, expecting them to overtake me. When they didn't overtake me, my mind started to tick over a little bit. I felt a little bit nervous, so I started to walk a bit faster. I could hear them walking faster behind me as well. Then I felt their hand on my shoulder, and that's when I panicked.
Let go of me! Go! Right!
I've got a knife, don't move, I said! Look, stop messing about, I'm gonna cut you with this if you don't do what I say! Stop struggling! Stop kicking me!
Somebody help! Get off me!
I was afraid of him, but I was more angry with him for attacking me. I think me fighting back at him frightened him. He wasn't expecting anyone to shout back at him or anyone to hit him or anything.
Stop it!
The red car came round the corner just at the point when he ripped the top of my trousers. The red car pulled over, I mean, close enough probably to see he had a knife.
Did you see that in Hermitage Road in March? Were you driving that red car? 1 week later.
I hate this bit. Oh my God! It's
What?
him! Oh my God! It's him! These men who tracked me, I don't believe it!
Where is he?
Two descriptions, but very similar. Is he your son, your neighbour, your workmate, your boyfriend? Or has he ever attacked you? If you can put those two faces together with any of the other clues, please give us a call. 0500 600 600. The incident room is on 0121 712 6080.
And don't forget, you can email us about any of tonight's cases at cwuk@bbc.co.uk, where they're being read immediately by Nicole here and passed straight on to the officers. Now, we've not had any so far, but it's a very simple way of getting in touch if the phones are busy, so keep them coming in. As far as calls, some very good calls. On the stabbing at Leicester, we've had one name, and on the Harrow axe attack, we've had two callers, one naming where the offender went to school and one naming where he went to college.
You may have seen a remarkable survey that was published last month that showed that most people are quite reluctant to get involved when there's a crime. For example, 70% said that they wouldn't call the police if they saw a fight in the street. Maybe that's why Crimewatch can be so successful sometimes, because it prompts us to come forward, and that's what I hope is going to happen now. And so do Sally and Roger Gurney. Their son, Jonathan, is here leaving the Bedford pub in Balham in South London. It's late on a Saturday night about 6 weeks ago. He's alone and he wasn't followed. But in the early hours of Sunday morning, he was found with savage head injuries, and no one knows when or why it happened. Sally, first tell us how he is now.
Thankfully, he's rising from the coma. He's recognising us. He's beginning to speak, make movements, feed himself. He's a fighter. He's battling really hard.
Very, very tough time for you and for the family.
A very tough time for us, not just for Roger and myself, for me, but for our daughter Susanna and for his girlfriend Adele as well. We've become very close in the time.
Roger, what do you think happened? Have you got your own theories?
Very difficult to know what did happen. We know he left the Bedford on what should have been a 10-minute journey to the north to his flat, and he was found a similar distance away to the east. How he got there during that period of time, the 1 hour, we don't know. He could have been confronted by someone or a group of people, or seen something that could have led to a confrontation and took a detour to go home the long way round. Alternatively, he could have met somebody and decided to walk the long way round back to his flat. All we know is that an hour later he was found with these injuries at the side of the road in Pentney Road.
Kevin, what do you think happened?
We believe that Jonathan has been the victim of a ferocious and unprovoked attack. On the night of this assault, Jonathan was wearing a very distinctive shirt. It's a blue shirt with white leaves upon it.
It's just, I know Sally was describing to me as a very loud shirt that he liked to wear,
yes,
sort of Hawaiian
type
thing.
shirt.
So he would have been fairly distinctive.
Yes.
People would have noticed him.
Absolutely. It may well be that some members of the public had seen him, might have seen the incident and thought it was a minor scuffle, and don't realise the seriousness of Jonathan's injuries. And we would ask that anybody who either saw Jonathan that night or witnessed the assault to come forward and help us with this inquiry.
Or perhaps if it was a group of people that attacked him, maybe someone who wasn't involved in the attack is prepared to come forward too.
Absolutely, yes.
And they won't be charged with a very serious offence, attempted murder or something, provided they weren't involved in the attack. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
OK, well, call us, please, if you can add anything on this for the sake of Jonathan's family, please. 0500 600 600 or 020 8649 2411.
Now, another opportunity to look at that CCTV footage from earlier in the programme. Is there anyone you recognise? This is a confrontation inside a bus station. 3 of them went outside and were attacked by men wielding axes. Do you recognise anyone? Who is this man running away? Somebody was stabbed during this fight, and we're hoping that this man will be able to help with inquiries. A 9-year-old girl was frightened by a man at a railway station. He stood staring at her from the opposite platform while he openly performed a sexual act. This man was at the station at the time, and we need to trace him to eliminate him from the inquiry. Time and time again, CCTV systems have proved invaluable in the identification of suspects. Hopefully this will be the case again tonight. So please call 0500 600 600 and remember, all the incident room numbers are on CFAX page 621.
Now, if you've recognised some jewellery, you might be able to help solve a robbery. This necklace is unique. It's a 2-band diamond-studded choker with drop pearls in the middle. This ring, it's platinum with a 10-carat rectangular diamond in the middle. This is a Cartier gold ladies' watch. And this is how they were taken.
It's a nightmare. I was the nanny of this family, and I was packing the luggage ready to go to France. I was expecting them to ring the doorbell.
They were obviously not expecting anyone to be in.
I thought they're gonna kill me.
Come on, move it! Come on, come on! Shut up!
It's just a baby, please.
Shut up! Shut up and take her upstairs!
I was worried that they might take the baby.
What's it like the baby?
Nothing, money. Where's the safe?
I don't know.
Come on, where's the money? Where's the safe?
Don't say it.
In here, is it?
You must know where it is. I don't know anything.
Yeah, tie her up.
No, don't hurt the baby. No, don't do anything.
Where's the husband and wife?
They're out.
Hey?
They should be back soon.
Don't be stupid. Don't say anything.
Do you want a TV on?
Don't look at me. Just get up the stairs now. Come on. What are you doing? What are you doing? Just take it off and leave it there. Come on. Get up the stairs. Just get in there and open the safe.
Please do that.
Open the safe. Don't do anything silly and you'll be sorry.
I'm trying.
What's that sound?
I'm sorry.
You do anything silly, there'll be trouble.
I'm trying.
Right, where's the money?
There isn't any money.
We know you've got money. We know you're going on holiday. You're lying.
No, I'm not lying. We just got back.
Right, we're going to have a look around the house.
I always dream about it, and it's like they're coming back again, so I'm so scared.
The two were seen leaving. They both had shaved heads. One was small to average height. The other, known as Jay, was 6 foot, powerfully built and aggressive, with rolls of fat on the back of his head.
Remember that jewellery? It's very traceable, even if broken up. They also stole some invalid share certificates which say Man Group at the top. Now, they're worthless, but did anybody try and sell them to you? There's a £10,000 reward for information leading to a conviction. Call us here in the studio or call the incident room on 020 8733 6113.
Anthony Mills is wanted for jumping bail after a terrible attack on a man in West Yorkshire. The victim was found locked in a cupboard after 5 days. His hands were bound so tightly they'd started to decompose. Anthony Mills could still be in the area, but he also knows Essex and he sometimes uses the alias Colin Rye. Next, where's Daniel Cook? In August last year, a woman was taken from a pub to someone's house where she was given a drink which may have been spiked with drugs. After that, she was raped. Daniel Cook was in the house and may have vital information. Dennis Barrington Black is wanted after a couple was shot at. It resulted from an argument over the behaviour of their children and the mother was hit in the head. Where is he tonight? And William Gleaves is wanted by my colleagues in Staffordshire for a dreadful sex assault. He has women's names tattooed on both arms and on his chest. He may be driving a Rover 214, registration G173SRA, 0500 600 600.
And also we want to talk to Luke Avery about a stabbing in Gateshead. He has a distinctive scar on his left cheek, sometimes uses the name Glenn Wallace and is originally from Kent. Terry Turner, he gets about. He's suspected of lots of burglaries and robberies from Cornwall to Lincolnshire and Warwickshire. Michael Smith is suspected of fraud on a grand scale in North Wales and Gloucestershire. Watch out for a man who looks like him, poses as a high-flying businessman but disappears without paying his bills. And since March last year, Alan Johnson has been on the run from prison and may have committed a string of offences since. We think he uses different names, most recently Peter Burridge. 0500 600 600 if you have information on any of these cases.
There are some crimes that even the most hardened criminals hate. This is one of them.
Chichester Close, High Wycombe in Buckinghamshire. It's quiet, warden-controlled housing for the elderly.
I can't actually believe that somebody would want to try and break into an elderly person's complex. You don't expect these sort of things to happen. You're supposed to be sort of safe in your own home, aren't you? Well, I got a phone call just before 3 o'clock in the morning. It was my nan saying that somebody had broken her bedroom window. She was quite shaken up.
All right, what happened? Yes, I'm all right.
Sort of sat down after the glazier had gone. I was sort of having a chat with my nan, trying to calm her down.
Make sure you're all right. That glazier's going to be here first thing in the morning to sort out that pane of glass.
Oh, she said he would be in this. Oh, my goodness.
Nan, call an ambulance.
I can't actually believe that he'd tried to break into my nan's. And while the guy came to board up and the police were there, he actually was obviously somewhere on the grounds, lurking around and looking. He's persistent enough to actually stay around and try and attack somebody else.
Aaron, the principal victim, the one who was really injured, was 91 years old. How is she now?
Prior to this attack, she was a very independent lady, looked after herself. Unfortunately, as a result of the dreadful attack, she's now in a home having to be looked after night and day.
I gather one of the experts was, well, surprised it didn't turn into a murder. In fact, feared it might have done if it hadn't been interrupted.
Yes, that's right. He went on to say that a large proportion of these attacks throughout the country, the offender often lives within half a mile of the offence.
Really? This is the forensic profiler. Within half a mile, 800 yards.
That's very
So
close.
You're really appealing tonight to people in High Wycombe. Think about a guy who looks like, well, what? Because you've got a description.
Yeah, that's right. He was 18 to 22 years of age.
Now that narrows it down a fair bit. So late teens, early 20s.
That's right. He's white, very fresh face looking. He's got blonde hair, which is combed forward, and it was wet that night, so his hair would have been wet.
So his hair, a bit like yours, but blonde?
That's correct, yeah.
What else did the profiler tell you about him?
He told us that it's likely to have had a significant event happen in the days and hours leading up to the offence.
Something that triggered this?
Yes, maybe a family argument, maybe something to do with substance abuse, alcohol abuse, something that would trigger it off.
This is sort of a week after the World Trade Center disaster, so it's a very memorable period, but it wouldn't have been something remote like that that triggered him. This has been something that happened in his own life.
Yes, that's what I believe.
And made him very angry, noticeably angry. People would have noticed the change in him, would they?
Yes, they would. Not necessarily after the event, but prior to the event, it's likely.
So, OK, there's an awful lot that people can pick through here. Somebody most likely to be very close to the area of the attack. Very, very clear description of the sort of person we're looking for. He would have had a behaviour change beforehand. And I think you've got very strong forensic evidence so people can be eliminated.
Yeah, we have forensic evidence, and if people want to put forward suspects, people that they suspect from the locality, then we will easily be able to eliminate them if they haven't
OK, as a simple start, no one's going to defend a man who makes violent sex attacks on the elderly, which is what this was, and since there is that DNA evidence, suspects can easily be eliminated. As Aaron's just said, give us your suspicions. Someone aged late teens to early 20s who was in the High Wycombe area in mid to late September. 0500 600 600 or 01494 686 145.
I appealed earlier on this knife attack at an off-licence in Croydon, South London. Fortunately, the shop assistant made a full recovery. Now, I've had one call, but we must identify the attacker. If you recognise him and can name him, ring us now. And remember, you can email us on any of the cases tonight at cwuk@bbc.co.uk. And you can catch Crime Watch Daily at 10 a.m. every weekday for the next month. And on tomorrow's programme, we'll be reappealing on some of tonight's cases and also giving you an update.
Back in the summer, a lot of people were pretty upset when Radio 1 had to abandon plans for an open-air party in Newcastle upon Tyne. So instead, some local people set up an unofficial party in Exhibition Park. Were you there at the Love Weekend on Saturday, the 21st of July?
That evening, near the city centre, a group of half a dozen friends met up and decided to look in at the unofficial Love Weekend.
As we walked through the field, there was like quite a lot of people, maybe a couple of hundred, just dancing away, enjoying themselves in that.
And they stayed there for quite a while. At one stage, one of the girls was bumped into by a man who stood on her toe.
And like he apologised and just asked if it was alright and just walked on. But nothing of it, that he stood on my toe by accident.
By 10 o'clock, the friends had become separated, and she was frustrated that she couldn't find them.
So I thought, oh, well, they've gone home. So I decided to go home on my own. I decided to go out the gate, which I thought was the gate we came in, but it wasn't. So I just thought, oh, well, it might be quicker going this way anyhow.
In fact, she walked out onto Newcastle's open parkland known as Town Moor. It wasn't dark yet, and she was in no hurry, but she soon realised she was getting lost. As she wandered towards the Great North Road, she heard footsteps and sensed she was being followed. There were 3 young men. 2 grabbed her from behind, a third came up and raped her.
They were giggling to themselves, like thinking it was a joke, and I thought it was the same guy that stood on my toe, so I recognised his accent was a southerner. So I'd got a good look at it and then.
This is him, early 20s, brown hair dyed blonde on top, green eyes, small ears, chubby cheeks, and notice that gold hoop earring with a cross. Remember, he had a southern accent and was wearing a gold square signet ring with an initial on it.
It took us a couple of weeks to get rid of like the nightmares and the thought in my head and that, Because every time I've seen someone that looked like him, I kept thinking it was him. But it wasn't, and I just tried to get rid of it by putting nice things in my head and that.
Help solve this, please. 0500 600 600 or 0191 214 6555. Now, we appealed earlier on the double murder 8 years ago of PC Pat Dunn and Kwame Danso.
I've been away for 2 weeks.
So the flat had been empty?
Away with murder there, Brian, and luckily there was
The noise was something like bang, 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 bang.
750, shots fired, Cato.
Those three guys came out
Get back inside.
and they started shooting.
Come on. I've seen that guy, right? Yeah, come on.
This is an inquiry. It's got a lot of new force behind it. And Gary, you were really appealing to people to come forward with their names and say who did it. You were offering them protection and one of the biggest rewards in British criminal history, £100,000. What's been the result so far?
Well, we were looking for quality, not quantity, and that seems to be what we're getting at the moment. Some people have been phoning up, giving names. A number of different people have given the same names, which we're very interested in. A couple of people are still, unfortunately, phoning up and refusing to give their details. Some have.
Well, they're giving the names, but they're not saying who they are.
No, they're remaining anonymous.
And at this stage, what you need is evidence you can take to court.
I must stress again, tell these people to give their names when they're phoning up, because we will treat it in confidence, we will protect them, we will look after them.
You were showing me one quite interesting one. I mean, there's some people who really have given their names on this.
Absolutely. Some people have given names, addresses and telephone numbers, and clearly my officers will be going out to see those next week, and appointments will be made to see them wherever they want. It doesn't have to be in London, it can be anywhere.
And just to emphasise, not only is there this huge reward, £100,000, but you are absolutely guaranteeing protection to anybody.
It's
absolutely full protection, whatever the circumstances.
Whatever it takes is what we'll provide. Absolute guarantee.
Well, we'll keep you up to date with that as the night goes on. A quick look at next Crime Watch, though. It's in 3 weeks' time. And we'll show you how a burglar almost ended the careers of two professional footballers.
Your front door's open, yeah?
You what?
What are you doing in my house? Hey! What are you doing? Come here! What are you doing in my house? Yeah. Hello.
The nurses came down and told my mum not to hold out any hope that I'd pull through. It was that serious.
You right, mate? I'm going to get an ambulance for you.
Well, that's next month, or in fact 3 weeks' time. We'll be back at 10:35 with the Crime Watch update. Thank you for watching. Thank you for helping to cut crime. And bear in mind the latest British Crime Survey, which shows that offences are continuing their long-term trend downwards. It may not feel like it, but Britain really is becoming safe, as they don't have nightmares. And you especially, Fiona, do sleep well. Good night.